Thank you, Tyler. That was excellent. Our next speaker is Dr. Stephen Webb, President and CEO of the Global Institute on Food Security. Stephen became CEO of the Global Institute for Food Security in 2019 after 23 years at Corteva Agriscience, where he led global research partnerships and innovation in agriculture, including developing the omega-9 health canola business. He worked as a research scientist at Dow AgroSciences Canada, where he played key roles in launching significant agricultural innovations and technology platforms. He also contributed to the Dow-DuPont merger, leading to Corteva's creation. He holds advanced degrees in immunochemistry, biochemistry, and microbiology, slight overachiever, from the University of Guelph. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Webb.
So for the record, it's Steve, and the only place that I get called Dr. Webb is at the university, so I have never heard that title until I came here to Saskatchewan. Or back to Saskatchewan. I started my professional career here in 1996. So although I'm from Ontario and I'll get the booze out of the way, I feel as my entire adult life has been started here and evolved around agriculture. So I've been asked to kind of come in and talk a little bit about some of the work we've done at the Global Institute for Food Security. One thing that I want to echo, something that Tyler had said, is that the opportunity for us, and we believe this at GIFS, is to work together. We talk about how innovation is a team sport. I think everything that we want to do in this sector is a team sport, and we need all of us pulling together in the same direction to drive the change, and we can control our own destiny. So a little bit about the topic about GIFS first, because again, it's my chance to have an ad for our organization. We are an innovation catalyst and have world-class capacities and capabilities. One of the things that comes up is people ask the question, you got global in your name. What are you doing globally? We have built a globally competitive organization here in Saskatoon. There is nothing like our organization in Canada, and there are only about 3 to 5 organizations like GIFS globally. Our job here at GIFS is to help catalyze and connect to drive the innovation pipeline from discover, develop, and deliver. We aim, or our ambition, is to be the world's preferred partner for ag and food innovation. And again, we are a global organization. Not only do we do work here in the region, so Saskatchewan, Alberta, Manitoba, but we do it right across Canada and internationally. And in fact, we attract investment and business opportunities to Canada. At GIFS, we have invested, as I mentioned, in 5 technology platforms. These are at Innovation Place here in Saskatoon. I know some of you in the room have had a chance to see them, but these platforms are at scale and competitive with any place in the world. Our sequencing capabilities are genomics and transcriptomics. Our data management and analytics group, which is the largest team we have at the Global Institute for Food Security, cell biology, our plant phenotyping capabilities, and engineering biology. No organization in Canada, and very few, like I mentioned, in the world have these technology platforms that operate at scale. Our model is designed to become self-sustaining, and we are focused on outcomes and impact. Tyler mentioned that, impact. Again, it's not research for research's sake, it's market impacting innovation. These platforms are combined to align to market-facing programs like FCC's Accelerated Breeding Program, our biomanufacturing, and the unique role GIFS has around innovation thought leadership. We were asked to talk a little bit about our carbon life cycle work. Again, we conducted this work on behalf of funding that we received from the government of Saskatchewan, which I think has been transformational for providing the necessary data to tell the story that I think all of us in the room know. Carbon life cycle analysis is a standard practice that is used, I fat-fingered that, used by the industry. And the panel on the left, which is an eye chart where you see all those little different colored lines and the columns, you can see Saskatchewan and Canada, the bars are lower than countries like Australia, France, Germany, and the United States for wheat. Carbon life cycle looks at all of the inputs that are manufactured before they're delivered to the farm, all the activities on the farm, and the movement of the grain to the export market. One of the things that carbon life cycle analysis does not do, and that panel on the left is the accepted approach. It was designed for stick-built industry. So if we were running a power plant or a mine or manufacturing cars. The panel on the right, we deviated from the standard protocol by integrating how different agronomic practices impact the carbon dioxide or soil carbon. And what you can see with the teal bar, which is I guess that's teal, I take my word for it. In Saskatchewan and Canada, you see it's actually below zero. We sequester soil, our soils sequester carbon. On your farms, has soil organic matter content gone up over the last 20 years? Yes or no? Yes. So that's where that shows. You can see countries in particular like Germany and France, that line is above the scorecard. So you can see their actual carbon footprint, their net carbon footprint is much greater than the standard practice to look at carbon life cycle analysis. That eye chart is distilled down to this, where we set Canada to 1 and said, let's compare everybody to Canada. And you can see countries like Australia, France, Germany, and the United States are significantly above. This is like golf. Low score wins, okay? Saskatchewan is lower than the Canadian average, and Saskatchewan is lower than the Western Canadian average, which is even lower than the Canadian average. I was in Edmonton last week speaking to the Alberta Pulse Growers Board, and they said Saskatchewan was lower because I'm from Saskatchewan. And I said, no, it's because the percent penetrance of no-till is higher here than it is in the other provinces of Manitoba and Alberta. And again, it gets down to that innovation and adoption of tools and technologies. You say the same trend with canola, with the exception of Australia at the national level, okay? A lot of that is done to how seed production takes place in other parts of Canada relative to the production side that takes place here in Western Canada and Saskatchewan. One of the things that I think is really important is, again, the story is one about innovation. Field peas, and again, this is consistent with what Pulse Canada has published and supported about the sustainability around peas. One of the benefits of them is they contribute nitrogen to the soil. You can see in countries like Germany, France, and the United States, they actually fertilize a lot more than you do relative to the production. And you can see the impact that has on the total carbon life cycle. Lentils, same story. Durum wheat, same story. Why? It's a system. You have perfected a system. We have a robust 3-crop rotation versus other geographies. We have adopted innovations, such as no-till and minimum tillage. We have adopted technologies that are available to us in Canada and not in France and Germany, like herbicide-tolerant canola. We have integrated nitrogen fixation into our row crop rotation through the pulses. We see this as a story of innovation. Saskatchewan pioneered no-till and minimum till, and we've seen the penetrance. I mentioned 93% penetrance here in the province. One of the things that's interesting in geographies, like we hear from President Trump, he refers to the border as an imaginary line. North of that line, farmers adopt innovative tools and technology to build resiliency into their operations, no-till, herbicide tolerance. The percent penetrance of no-till in the United States is only about a third of the farmers are operating in that system now. That's why you see it reflected in their higher carbon footprint. One of the things that I think is really understated here in Canada is our secret strength is you, farmers. Because you look at innovations, you evaluate them, do they make sense for my farm? Do they make economic sense? Do they make environmental sense? Do they fit in my farm? And you adopt them. Other geographies have not. To put in perspective the impact of the soil carbon analysis on wheat from Saskatchewan can be shipped 3.5 times around the world before it equals the carbon footprint of wheat produced in Germany. So again, I think this is a really good story about how we have used innovation to transform Western Canadian agriculture. And I think it's a roadmap for how we can look at further innovations that we can develop and deploy, not just for sustainability from an environmental perspective, but robust sustainability from an economic perspective as well. Regulation has allowed us to do this. One of the things that I worry about is there's a perception, or at least mine, and Tyler will correct me later afterwards, that there's within the university community and some within government, that there's a desire to the Europeans have it right from a regulatory perspective. They do not. We would not have the tools and technologies that we have today that allow us to be the world's supplier of the most sustainably produced food. We need a regulatory framework that is predictable. We need a regulatory framework that's science-based. We need a regulatory framework that's transparent. And we need a regulatory framework that is fast. Because 1 year delay is enough to actually prevent an innovation coming to market. Tyler talked a little bit about some of the challenges, and I know there's lots of challenges going on like in the here and now, but there are lots of challenges that we've faced for a long time. And I want to echo that there's the opportunity for us to address these. One of them is productivity. Farm Credit Canada published a report in December of 2023 that showed that our productivity, total factor productivity on Canadian farms, has left about $30 billion on the table. It's an opportunity to go for this. RBC just reported that we've moved from 5th largest food exporter to 7th. Tyler's slides had all the data to show that we've declined relative to our peers. To get back to 5th, it's a $44 billion opportunity. We have to increase productivity at the farm gate by 10% and increase value added by 50%. And again, think back to what Tyler showed you on where the risk is we're more dependent on commodity, okay? Canada spends on research. We're 8th in the world spending on research. Our outputs for research are 20th, and our ranking is about 14th in the world. We want to be a G7 country. We are falling behind on the innovation outcomes. We have a gap that we need to address. One of the ways that we at GIF see the opportunity to bridge that gap is through partnership and collaboration. Tyler talked about we need to collaborate. We believe that. That's in our DNA about how we do work. Again, it requires all of the sectors to work, academia, government, and industry. And those opportunities not are just doing more of the same, but thinking about new ways to do things, to address the challenges, to accelerate the advancement of knowledge that we are good at in Canada, of creating inventions at universities and industry, but we're not very good at scaling it up to deliver market impact. One of the areas that we're working on at GIFS is to accelerate breeding, or breeding acceleration, driving productivity, competitiveness for Canadian farmers, and sustainability, economic, environment, and social. Again, we are working with public and private breeding to leverage the expertise and technologies that we have at GIFts. Those technology platforms allow us to do high throughput genotyping, bioinformatics at scale. It's fully automated, and we're able to simulate the breeding programs to further improve the efficacy and robustness of the current breeding programs that are out here in Canada. This technology is not new. It was pioneered in the dairy industry in Australia in the early 2000s. The technology has been proven to work in dairy. It's been proven to work in corn, soybean, peas, lentils, wheat, pigs, turkeys, chickens. And it just hasn't been deployed here in Canada in the crops that matter for us here that drive that sustainability report that you've seen. It is being used by our competitors against us. So again, developing new markets for our products is good, but our competitors are chasing those same markets that we are. Canadian dairy industry was an early adopter of this technology, and you can see the change in the slope of the line in the late 2000s, where it drives profitability and performance of the animals. Again, that is the impact of doing genomic selection at scale. This is what the Australians are doing in peas. I'll cut to the chase on this slide. In the middle panel, that new variety, and I don't have my glasses on, I think it's Noosa. It delivered 30% higher yield than their industry-leading variety. And they did it in one turn of their breeding program. So their breeding program is about the same as ours, 7 years. What they did differently is they actually delivered performance that would mimic 21 years of breeding. How did they do that? By doing genomic selection and piling up good genes in lines before they drove out those materials. So think about it. Who wins the race? If they can run 21 years in 7, and it takes us to win 20, we have to run 21 years. We are not going to win. We need to continue to compete. The Australians are doing this in crops that are important for us here in Western Canada. We are bringing this technology together, and there's many partners in the room. I saw Carl here that is supporting this. Penny from the ministry is supporting this effort. We have Lima Grain, CDC, DL Seeds, and Ag Canada at the table around how do we advance and compete on the pea side. There are many, many other opportunities for us here in Canada. What does it do? Increase the rate of genetic gain, drive profitability and sustainability or resilience for producers, improves the return on investment. So again, the hard decisions that Tyler talked about that we're going to need to make about not just spending money on research, but are we getting that return on investment? We have to be myopically focused on ROI for the public dollars that we're spending or private dollars so that we can get back and see value. That's how we fill the $30 billion gap that Farm Credit talked about. That's how we fill the $44 billion gap that RBC's talked about. It drives effectiveness and efficiency. It changes how we breed because it provides breeders more information and they can reduce the amount of uncertainty when they go to the field. It doesn't eliminate breeders. Breeders are key to making this work, and it promotes our competitiveness. From an opportunity I see for us here is advancing innovation from food security from Saskatchewan out. GIFts has created a one-of-a-kind at-scale technology organization. Again, we are interested in building partnerships and collaboration. We do not do anything on our own. Again, making this work. So please, if you want a tour, just reach out and come and see us. We're at Innovation Place, 421 Downey Road. Just don't show up unannounced. but just reach out and we're happy to give you a tour to show you what we have. And we want to work and partner to drive innovation, to create economic impact at the farm and through the entire value chain. Thanks, and I'll be happy to take some questions.
Lean Luke Stas, beef. Question, like it's good to do your sustainable breeding programs, but I know in my operation, we've had varieties that are competitive for doing green feed or other feed sources, but they don't live or available very long because there's no economics in it for the big breeding companies to keep supplying them. In the last 10 years, I must have lost 3 varieties that used to make me an advantage over what the current varieties are out there. So you talk about research and building and genomics and breeding new plants and stuff. I see that out there, but I see the biggest hurdle on the farm side is getting somebody to make those products available to the farmers to use. Because if a sales company doesn't pick them up, and if they see that there's no value or not enough profit in it, they scrap them and make them unavailable to us even to multiply on our own with the plant breeder rights that are out there. So I think you, as an organization like yourself, in order to make farmers more sustainable and viable, you also have to look at how to get these products to the farmers so that we can use them on our own without all those hurdles and regulations, as one of the other speakers talked about, we have to eliminate them. It's terrible.
Good statement.
My question is on these accelerated breeding programs. Do you ever check if it changes the nutritional value?
Absolutely. And when you look at the performance of the varieties or the animals that have had this, it allows you to breed for everything all at once. That's one of the things that when you look at classical breeding, we have left things behind in the past because we could only chase so many things. The benefits of this approach allow you to breed for all of the traits that you're interested in all at the same time, and allow the breeding organization, whether they're dairy, pork, corn, wheat, to maintain diversity within the breeding populations, which again is very important as we know new diseases, new challenges, new business opportunities arise. And maintaining diversity within the population that you're breeding is a benefit. That allows you to do that. You have more information to the breeders that they can drive those types of traits. Historically, we've not been able to do that with conventional breeding.
Vicky again, of course. So December 4th, we had a producer meeting and we presented Olafunki.
Yep.
Yeah, came and presented your GIF study. And actually, you could have heard a pin drop in the room, same as here. I don't know if everyone in the room has known that we are the world's best sustainable farmers in the world. I actually think it's the best kept secret. When I saw that presentation, I said, well, how come the ag associations haven't been using this? How come they haven't been telling the world how good we are? Our daughter operates a plant food business where she uses pulses as ingredients. She referred to that study many times in selling her ingredients and saying, we are better. And there are ingredient suppliers that do want to buy sustainable ingredients from a country and a production area they can trust. It's a huge positiveness to us. So I just want to thank you for that. And I would encourage the ag associations to not have a meeting that doesn't talk about this until 100% of the producers and Canada indeed knows this. And to answer the concerns about farmers having, access to genetics. Australia has end-use royalty, and so obviously they have the ability to collect quite a bit more revenue from the overall and total production that's directed at plant breeding. Right now, we focus more on the royalties. We're seed growers, so I'm very familiar with selling seed and then competing with my neighbors. We have to adopt the attitude that we want to be the best in the world, that we want to supply the best ingredients in the world, and the only way to do that is through genetics. And the only way you get the plant breeding companies to come and stay here is to give them some money. It annoys me that farmers will pay $100 a bag for canola and then come out to me and say, what? You're charging me that for wheat and other things, and it's maybe $1 over the market, less my costs, right? So I think we have to have attitude, and I loved what you said, that we're going to be the preferred supplier. So I don't really have a question, I just have appreciation.
Thank you. And I forgot to mention Heidi's example of being able to sell using the sustainability report, because she's reported that. I think one of the things that I think is really, really, really important is, again, I can't remember the last cartoon you showed, Tyler, the status quo. We can't stay where we are. We need to change, and we need to embrace change. And change is scary, yes, but the change that we are talking about here on integrating with accelerated breeding, for example, it's not risky from a technology perspective. It's the risk is, can we work together? We are the risk. Can we partner and collaborate to bring this technology to the market? Thank you.